Hello and welcome to the Undercut Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Thiemo Daily, and we are back to preview this weekend's 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And when I say we, I mean all three of us, as I am joined by none other than Mr. Jesse Billington and Miss Ellie Mae Taylor. How are you both?
I'm doing all right. I've had a busy day being up Birmingham Way driving a very nice classic Rover P5B Coupe, a exceptionally ministerial car with a very wafty steering box and very sumptuous V8 engine. So fantastic day all round for me.
I just feel a little bit stressed and kind of have heartburn due to the fact F1 seems to be just crumbling all around us. But I think I found the solution to stop me having a mental breakdown. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I've kind of taken the idea off of TikTok. But when I'm feeling stressed, I just want to press like this button, and then like the ceiling opens up, and out comes a glitter ball, like a disco glitter ball, and it just starts rotating, and then like ABBA songs start to play, like "Gimme, Gimme, Gimme." Lay your love on me.
That sounds like something they're going to incorporate into the new Saudi Arabia track that we'll get onto in a minute. It seems like it would fit right in there.
Spontaneous disco section.
I would love that. Just...
There's still time. Write them a letter. Make a suggestion.
It's a shame we haven't got Nikita Mazepin, because then you could hit a button, a disco ball emerges, and it does Kylie's I'm Spinning Around.
I thought it'd just be like a wrecking ball and just wax
the Miley Cyrus one. That would be just as funny. The emergency Miley Cyrus.
That's us getting way-sided immediately there, much in the spirit of a wrecking ball. So we're going to get into the news ahead of this weekend's Grand Prix. And whilst the racing so far this season has been dull as ditch water, my oh my, has there been just a mess of news off track. And Jesse, it's not getting any better, is it?
No, the racing doesn't look to be spicy, but certainly, as we said, everything that's going on in and around the paddock is. And we'll kick off with Mohammed Ben Sulayem, the FIA president, and he is now under investigation twice-ish, sort of. This is for allegedly trying to interfere with an F1 race result. This is the first point we'll cover. A whistleblower to the FIA said that MBS tried to overturn the penalty given to Fernando Alonso at the 2023 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, famously where he was given a penalty, so he did the podium, then was given the penalty afterwards, so gave the trophy to George Russell. I think it was annulled anyway, so he got the trophy back. It was all a bit of a confusing melee. According to a report that was seen by the BBC, MBS called Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamas bin Isa Al Khalifa, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, the FIA's vice president for sport in the Middle East and North Africa region. And Sheikh Abdullah was in Jeddah in an official capacity, and the call between the two reportedly makes clear that MBS thought Alonso's penalty should be overturned. The phrasing used in the report reads that there was an expectation of the stewards to overturn their decision to the issue. Further to that, there are reports emerging that he had tried to block the certification of the Las Vegas circuit. And this is one of the things, this sort of moves a bit more towards speculation of sort of what ifs, certainly. But if he had interfered with that or delayed it in any way, and that was what caused safety checks to get skipped, including the drain cover that obliterated Sainz's car, then there is a lot to think about here in sort of one man's actions and the impact further.
One thing I want to add on to that just before you continue is the fact that if that is the reason that safety checks got skipped, then whilst you could pin it slightly on him, I still think that's quite irresponsible of whoever else was in charge at the point for then going, oh, we need to get the show on the road and to hell with safety, because that immediately backfired on them in a really bad way. And that's kind of, you couldn't pin it all on him for that, because you still think, oh, even if someone's trying to mess with you, does that mean we just ignore all the rest of it? No. So there's a lot to potentially look at there. But as you say, nothing official yet on that front, but continue because somehow that's not the only thing.
Yeah, there's nothing official on that one.
I'd also, if it was official, like to know the motives behind both.
Yeah. Alonso didn't seem to need the help there at the beginning of the season, and then the Las Vegas thing is a bit of a low ball move to try and get it uncertified at that stage of the game to make it just not happen. But all very odd. But all the news in F1 is odd at the moment.
I mean, all of it's odd, and this sort of follows a long string of very strange, odd, and concerning issues that MBS has triggered as the FIA president. This is not limited to the investigation into the Wolffs, which we sort of heard about over the winter break. This was when they said there was a conflict of interest between Toto Wolff, as essentially sort of the team principal at Mercedes and a sort of shareholder in Mercedes, as well as Susie Wolff, now leading Formula One Academy. There was reportedly sort of conflicts of interest there, which was sort of leaked, announced through, I want to say, like F1 Business. It's that really naff magazine that said W Series failed because it wasn't sexy. So it was sort of launched through that one. And then the FIA went, oh, that seems serious. We'll investigate that. Then immediately backed down from it. I think there is legal action that's being pursued in that one. So that's possibly not going to end well. There's also the blocking for 6 months an agreement between the teams and commercial rights holders to double the number of sprint weekends in 2023. So one of the things we heard about early on when they spoke about doubling sprint races was all the teams going, yes, but what about sort of fueling and actually paying to run the cars for an additional sort of 3 sprint races? That seemed to have all gotten sort of sorted relatively quickly. And then it was MBS that is reported to have been holding that one up a lot longer than actually needed. Another problem was receiving a cease and desist letter from F1's lawyers following his reaction on social media to a story claiming Saudi Arabia's public investment fund had tried to buy the sport from Liberty, I think, for $20 billion US dollars. So again, a very interesting one there. And then the final point on that sort of not entirely complete list is the emergence of a website that quoted him making misogynistic comments. This one's a little bit dated, but it's still something that's worth bearing in mind every time he comes up in the news and sort of the track record that he holds. And one of the quotes extends to the point of, I do not like talking about money, nor do I like women who think they are smarter than men, for they are not in truth, which is quite the statement to make, especially if you've got, if you're the head of the FIA and you've got F1 Academy, and not the thing you want being brought up in the week of F1 Academy's 2024 season starting. So very interesting there. So it sort of caps off with a number of high-ranking individuals leaving the FIA over the winter break, something we mentioned when we returned. It's not a promising sign for the FIA. It's crumbling, and there's something rotten inside it at the moment for all these issues to be starting to come out, and sort of the leadership is not quite as concrete as we might have anticipated.
I can't quite remember what the official title is, but isn't sort of the Noor who ran it or was under it, but the woman who was sort of the FIA woman in motorsport, she left, didn't she?
Yeah, she was one of the names that left over the winter break alongside a couple of other ones like head of engineering, single-seater development, all sorts of things. So yeah, not a surprise that she might have made an exit, especially if these are things that were coming to the fore, and that possibly gives you an idea at least as to how the FIA at its highest level views women in motorsport and the idea of accessibility and diversity across its ranges. So it's, yeah.
However, in the Undercut podcast's attempt to try and say it's not all doom and gloom out there, there are some good news stories out there. Turkey is in talks to not only return to F1, but also WRC, and frustratingly, perhaps, or otherwise, MBS has been the one having multiple meetings about this. So at the moment, it's still a real possibility because he's in charge. But even if he's not, it should still be looked at because Turkey is a bloody great racetrack and deserves to always be on there, in my opinion. It's given us some great racing over the years, and I'll be surprised if either of you two disagree that it shouldn't be on the calendar.
No, I agree. It's a fun little track.
It's a blinder of a circuit, and the modern cars work at it as well, which is, it's great to go back to an old circuit, and the modern era sort of ground effect cars really actually, no, we haven't seen the ground effect cars there, but I suspect they'd be very interesting.
But 2020 was a great race, and the weather is always a factor playing in. It could change from one day to the next, and I don't recall there being a boring Turkish Grand Prix, which is nice because I feel like you can say that about a lot of tracks, and it's not like they've only been to Turkey a couple of times. They've had a good few forays there.
It's certainly something that's interesting, and hopefully something we'll be seeing back. Something, or someone rather, we won't be seeing back, at least in Jeddah, is Jos Verstappen, who won't be in the paddock this weekend. And many are speculating that this is because he's not happy with Christian Horner's behaviour. And at the time, this is all still alleged behaviour. To make that perfectly clear, there is still the further investigations into that matter ongoing. But when you frame it as Jos Verstappen if you know the history behind that man, is not happy with the behavior of Christian Horner. It's a very twisted situation. And more importantly, though, the other guy we hate to hear from, Helmut Marko, fears that the ongoing issues will drive away talent from the team. And he's actually quite grounded in this instance, because there are already fears that Max is looking at a seat next to George at Mercedes. Adrian Newey is already feared by Marko to exploring other options. Ferrari is apparently already on his radar. There have been talks, I think, with other teams. Ellie May would like to see him go to Williams, no doubt. Yeah. And more importantly, for
I can't have him at Ferrari. I'll take him at Williams.
I think I'll take Williams as well if he doesn't appear at Ferrari. But more importantly for Red Bull moving forwards is Ford, their future engine supplier partner. They're also putting pressure on getting this whole thing resolved with clarity as soon as possible, because equally you don't want to be one of the largest motoring manufacturers on the planet and be tied to this sort of thing. This isn't the publicity you want when you join F1, is to be associated with a team that's got allegedly a sex pest in it. That's not what you want. So you can see the reticence from Ford here on wanting to get this sorted. And the other big talent in the team, they don't want sort of years of hard work to become renowned within the sport to be wasted because allegedly one person's screwed around. So, and the whole thing gets deeper and deeper the more you start picking at this, because Horner tried to buy out the team after Dietrich Mateschitz passing in 2022. He was looking to consolidate decision-making power within the Red Bull sporting structure, essentially in a similar way to sort of the way Toto Wolff has done it at Mercedes. And this sort of brought me back to the older days of power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And Toto Wolff seems to be able to sort of manage that power and control and has the right people surrounding him. But Christian Horner's never built up that big team around him at Red Bull. It's always been Christian Horner, and that's it. Toto Wolff has always been Toto Wolff and various other people. There have been other stakeholders. There have been other people in charge of things. Horner, we've never known about this sort of additional structure supporting him. So as soon as he's gotten closer and closer and closer to the one ring, it's sort of twisted and twisted and twisted him more and more from what used to be a very sort of optimistic and promising team with a lot of scope to do interesting things to one that's done a lot of interesting things and is now being besmirched by allegedly his behavior. So yeah, it further drives this rift between Horner and the headquarters of Red Bull at Fuchsal as well in Austria. So it's tumultuous times at Red Bull all across the board.
It's such a tough situation, isn't it? I kind of did something similar in my dissertation, in the sense that I did.
I was wondering where that was going for a second.
You slept with your PA, allegedly.
In that I looked at sort of Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, or the European Convention of Human Rights, which is the right to privacy, versus Article 10, sort of the freedom of expression, which obviously is what media kind of falls under. And obviously we have no idea what's gone on in this investigation. All we know is that Christian Horner was under investigation for inappropriate behaviour, and Red Bull up to this point have not gone into any detail about what happened to, I think, mainly protect the privacy of both Horner and the other Red Bull employee. And they may have believed that this was the best thing to do, but the problem is that because so much of it is unknown, it's causing so much speculation that I think Red Bull need to issue some form of statement, maybe outlining what the investigation was about, or the findings at least, I think, or have the FIA investigate it, and with them being hopefully a completely 100% unbiased organisation, they can issue a statement that they said they've reviewed the investigation, they find it either to be inconclusive, they disagree with the outcome, they agree with the outcome. I think kind of at this point there needs to be more visibility to make sure that whatever has happened, it has been looked into and is dealt with in a correct manner, and the actions are taken as a result are fair. And then I think that way it can, I don't know, somehow get laid to bed in sort of some way, or we just have a more of a better conclusion and an outcome than just all this speculation, and because it's just causing more and more sort of chaos.
It's that sort of thing of there's no such thing as bad PR, but at the same time, that doesn't mean you should just accept all of the bad PR when it comes your way. And just because people are talking about you doesn't mean that that's a good thing. And if you've got the opportunity to rectify it, or at least try and calm the waters, then you should take that. and it's in everyone's interest, especially. I was going to say especially in the short term, but especially in the short term and the long term, this could damage, as you were saying, Jesse, Red Bull quite badly if they bungle it in a way that they maybe appear to be. And equally, Formula One, it could be damaged as a result of this. And because of the MBS stuff, you have your most successful team under this kind of scrutiny from the public courtroom, shall we say, and the media courtroom, and then you've got yourself in a bit of a compromised position because of what's going on with you. It doesn't look good, and if you want to save the sport and the integrity and make it out that you are the pinnacle of motorsport in every which way, shape, or form, then you want to get out in front of this and do damage control and just sort it the heck out, really. So it's going to be very interesting to see how all of that unfolds, and if this is just what happens after the first race of 24, then it'd be interesting to see if the calendar gets shortened in years to come so that there's less time for people to deal with this stuff. But in the attempt yet again to show that it's not all potentially doom and gloom, I don't know how much this is bringing into that early May, but there are some other bits of news that are maybe more positive, but we're hoping that they work out in the form of upgrades.
Yes, Ferrari are apparently bringing a new rear wing spec to Jeddah. Most teams would often run different angles and plane sizes because wings will vary from track to track. Like Monza, you sort of see the rear wings almost flat to try and negate drag. But this is reportedly more of sort of a fundamental change. And Red Bull as well apparently also have upgrades too. I think it's side pod tweaks, mostly honing their airflow in relation to sort of the RB19 derived rod suspension.
It's not Red Bull, it's RB. That was RB as opposed to, I haven't shortened Red Bull there. We're going to have to stop writing RB as shorthand for Red Bull because otherwise it's going to get hella confusing. But yeah.
Just write Minardi.
But then the younger listeners won't know who Minardi are. We can't start calling them
educated, and we're providing a service.
We can't start calling other teams like Stoddart and Stewart and stuff. They're going to be confused.
Sure, we can. Why not? Let's go for it.
All of a sudden, they're going to be wondering, like, when did Jaguar have an F1 team? You're going, once upon a time.
The most dominant F1 team.
Yeah. Still haven't found that diamond, though.
So, but then when we say honing, so they are talking about the RB19, because the RB19 last year was Red Bull, wasn't it?
Yeah. So obviously, RB are using old Red Bull parts. So the latest tweak to the RB, i.e. the car that Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo are driving, the side pods are being sort of tweaked in relation to the airflow into them that comes off of the RB19, which was last year's Red Bull car, which has now given its pull rod suspension to this year's RB. It's all getting very confusing with the RB. Can they just go back to being called Toro Rosso?
Minardi.
Basically, they're implementing some new side pods to make use of last year's Red Bull front suspension. That's it in its simplest form. Although things aren't necessarily simple if you're any of the new technical directors at Alpine. And I say new technical directors.
So we're swinging back into the slightly negative aspect of the news here. Yet another petition for me to have Jeremy Clarkson as the team principal, because that's the only way I can see them getting out of this situation.
This isn't negative. They've got structure. They've got people. They're making steps in the right direction. They've got several people.
Real human people.
Yeah. So they've lost. We mentioned in the review from Bahrain that pretty much as soon as the race happened, two major people left Red Bull, Alpine even. It was Matt Harmon, their former technical director and head of aerodynamics, Dirk de Beer. So what they've done is completely reshuffle it and also broken down Matt Harmon's role into at least 4 other jobs. So what they've given us is technical director roles in the realms of performance, aerodynamics, engineering, and a power unit technical director. So the first 3 will report directly to team principal Bruno Fama, and I'm assuming eventually somewhere in the chain, the power unit technical director at Vimy in France, Eric Maynon, will also be reporting to Bruno Famin. But crucially, Joe Burnell will be the team technical director for engineering, David Wheater for aerodynamics, and Kieran Philbeam for performance. So 3 new people moving into these roles. And equally, when it comes to the power units, like I've already said, there is hopefully major tweaks in the works, and Eric Maynon is apparently working on their 2026 power unit as well. So they're rebuilding some structure, but I don't think they are anticipating losing their technical director and head of aerodynamics after one very bad race. So mixed for Alpine, really, on that front.
It's sort of similar to what McLaren have done. They sort of broke their engineering departments down into three, and it seems to have worked for them. So hopefully this is the correct structure now for Alpine. Then by having sort of 3 or 4 technical directors, they can solely sort of focus on what they're in charge in, rather than trying to be one being in charge of it all. I think sometimes it's better to be an expert in your own specialized area sometimes than it is to know a lot but not in depth.
Jack of all trades, master of none. I think Mercedes also saw that sort of come to fruition with the no pods design, going through the sort of weird Mike Allison technical directive series. They sort of have shuffled things around and broken down roles and said, look, the cars are becoming so much more intense to understand and work on. We're going to have to start breaking these things down phase-wise and sort of have specialist teams working on different areas. You can't simply sort of be expected to bounce from one bit to the next within reason. So, yeah, some interesting shifts coming there from Alpine. But there's some big news.
I was going to say, we do have one last bit of news, which is possibly a blend of positive and negative, because we don't really know which way this is going to swing yet. But it's going to be quite interesting to watch nonetheless, because if you thought Jeddah was the wildest F1 track design that we've had in some time, Saudi Arabia is about to possibly outdo itself with its new Grand Prix circuit in Qiddiya, which looks like it's both a street circuit and also not in some ways, because there's appears to be a couple of different layouts to it, but it looks interesting nonetheless. It's anti-clockwise. It's been designed by Alex Wirtz and Tilk, and you can get up to speeds apparently about 200 miles per hour with a 108-meter elevation change, and this will be coming out kind of in 2027. It looks very funky, a bit like Mario Kart on steroids, and I'm intrigued to get your 2 thoughts on this.
In Herman Tilke we trust.
In Herman Tilke we don't trust. How many dull Tilke-drones have we had on the calendar in the past few years? But more importantly, though, this brings me on to my weird fascination with Saudi Arabian mega projects. So bear with me for a second here, listener.
Oh, joy.
Have you heard of NEOM? And crucially, have you heard of
Yes.
Alpine?
Yes.
How far away do you think
Thank
we are?
God we don't have to do explainers for this.
Yeah. How far away do you think we are from the Line Grand Prix? Like, that's going to be abysmal, isn't it?
There was a track like that a while ago where it was essentially 2 airport streets with hairpins at either end about
Avis was the circuit.
Yeah.
It was
it's going to be like that,
with
but just
banking.
half of it, and it's just going to be...
It is a race to the end of the line. That, or there's the hexagon, which was also being built. So it's going to be a 6-turn bowl, maybe. I don't know. Like, Saudi Arabia have got so many weird technical projects that they keep sort of doing, and nothing really comes of them. I think Riyadh is also another one, which is it's got an Formula E circuit.
It's good for Formula E, but at the same time, I don't think we need an F1 track there. And I quite like that we have a little bit of variety for the motorsports there. It's not, because normally you see, we're going to Qatar, it's the same place for everything. We go to Bahrain, it's the same track for everything. I like that there's a bit of variety there. And Qiddiya's we kind of knew Jeddah was always going to be temporary, but it looks a little bit like it's a combination of all of the Middle Eastern tracks that we've seen in F1 so far in some respects. You can see elements of Bahrain and Qatar and Abu Dhabi in it, for me at least, in terms of just... It just looks a bit like it, but it's going to be interesting to see, and hopefully this gets built and set up with more than enough time before the racing gets underway, unlike Saudi Arabia was the first time around.
I'm going to possibly split opinion here and say I quite like Jeddah. Can we just keep that? Like, it works as a
Now
circuit.
you're going to be making them do 2 Grand Prix in Saudi Arabia.
No, I don't want that. I'm just saying Jeddah works as a circuit. It's tried, tested.
It does.
Works. It's not bad. And when they aren't firing missile attacks at its northern end, perfectly fine and usable layout.
One time.
It seems like a fairly big thing to try and overlook. I think it's worth bearing it in mind. But
watch me do it.
Are you suggesting you're going to fire missiles at Jeddah? Because that's what...
No, I'm saying it happened one time. You should move on.
You then said, watch me do it.
It happened one time.
Yeah, watch me move on from it, not
I just wanted to
repeat
get clarity, more for your sake, that you don't appear in a suitcase in multiple pieces. Like, Moving on before Thiemo accidentally commits crimes against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
We will move on to our predictions instead. And pole position straight away. Jesse, you've gone for the obvious answer, but someone's got to do it.
Yeah, I've gone for Verstappen. I think it's going to happen.
And not just because of the rhyme.
Not because of the rhyme. I'm just desperate to try and win something this year. So if it's my own predictions game on my own little silly podcast,
here. You're not going to win.
Well, she's chosen Leclerc, and I think she's in with a good shout on this one.
I was meaning like overall in the championship. You're just trying to win something
anywhere. Yeah, I was also trying to feed into Ellie explaining why she chose Leclerc. So
I chose Leclerc because he's quick on around one lap.
Wow. That was nearly as solid as my Alpine justification for it. They've got a bad livery, so they're going to be P10 this year.
Well, he almost got pole position in Bahrain, so
his Q2 lap would have been fast enough if they were able to replicate it.
Which I find hilarious and such a Charles Leclerc thing to have done.
Yeah. Which is why I sort of fear that when Lewis Hamilton goes there and if Adrian Newey moves there, all of a sudden the Charles Leclerc bad luck is going to be there. For him. But it's going to be sort of against a really, really good car. And you're like, oh, God. Anyway, Thiemo,
you've given him everything.
So. Yeah, you've predicted Sergio Perez for pole?
Slightly more logic than Ellie May said, just because he does well on street circuits, and he did pretty well here last year. So I'm hoping that he can at least get pole position, redeem his qualifying from Bahrain, and whilst he will not win the race, in my opinion, he will get pole position, which is about all I can really hope for, and I think that's all we as Sergio Perez fans can hope for when his teammate is Max Verstappen, and you're about to come at me with some kind of a thought.
I am. Don't you think that'll ruin Max's run at getting pole and leading every lap of every race and winning every race this season? Because that's a genuine threat.
Then that's fine.
We'll wait and see what happens. It just feels, even though it's one race in, it feels like we could see sort of Max on pole. Max wins, leading every lap.
I hope you two go first and fight it out between yourselves, because you've got fairly similar podiums. It's just a split difference of a Ferrari between you.
But what if Verstappen does move to Mercedes and they say, well, we'll give Perez all the upgrades then. We'll make sure that Perez is the quicker car.
You're assuming that someone else in that new second or first seat isn't automatically going to get that treatment because Perez can't catch a break.
No, because Max will be in the other seat. He would have announced that he's moved to Mercedes.
Oh, so they do the thing where
okay. I thought you meant in 2025 already.
No, this year they put him on the back burner and say, there we go, Perez is our number one driver.
That would be interesting.
Max. He's still up against Max. I think that would be too much to try and battle. Podium-wise, though, like you said, Ellie May and I, only a Ferrari between us in slightly different orders. Both of us going for the Verstappen win, which I think is pretty much a given. We're both clearly playing for points here. But Ellie May's gone Perez P2 and Leclerc P3. Why?
Because that Red Bull is a spaceship. If Perez is not getting P2 when Max is getting P1, then there is something wrong, because that car is in its own little league. And
as we know, Verstappen converts more Leclerc poles to wins than Leclerc does.
Exactly. Keeping the tradition alive.
Insert Bottas traditions.
And Leclerc won't be able to answer to the Red Bull pace, so he moves down to third.
I disagree, Mr. Billington.
I don't disagree wholly, but I think Sainz is going to be driven on by a relatively good race in Bahrain last weekend and will push one step further up the podium this weekend and sort of nab P2 behind Verstappen and Perez P3. I just think that's what's going to happen. Thiemo, though, you appear to have done an enormous.
I am sticking with the loyalty to Ferrari, and as misguided as that may be, I'm going to be loyal to Carlos and say he's not going to get one step up on the podium from last week. He's going to get two. He's going to win the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix like an absolute legend, and he's going to beat Sergio Perez too. It's going to be a tight fight, but he's going to beat him. Perez will come P2, and then on the back of all of the news that's come out, which I predicted this before even the news came out, just to add more fuel to a Saudi Arabian fire, Fernando Alonso P3.
What
Or
happens,
wouldn't just that be nice?
what happens to Max Verstappen? Does he get taken out by George Russell, or
I'm going to leave that up to the racing gods. I was checking my wild prediction to make sure I hadn't bungled myself into a corner there before answering, but I have not. So I'm just going to say he has an uncharacteristic off race, and even if he's P4, that's good enough for me for this podium because it means we've had something slightly interesting happen.
it means he wouldn't lead the championship either, wouldn't?
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to maintain a points gap. It's interesting.
With fastest lap, though, I'm going to continue my Carlos Sainz trend because he's going to get it at some point. He's going to get it at some point, fastest lap, and I'm predicting it's going to be Saudi Arabia, as I always knew it would be. It always came down to this weekend. It was never going to be any of the previous ones. I knew it was all just leading up to this, and proof is in the pudding because, Jesse, you've also predicted Carlos Sainz, which means it must be happening.
Yeah, it's going to happen this weekend. I think there's something cooking in that Ferrari and certainly something cooking in that Carlos Sainz. So this weekend, fastest lap, we'll see what happens. Ellie May, you've gone for the obvious?
Gone for the winning points options.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really much you need to say there. We understand why you've chosen Max.
Jesse's trying to take my crown.
Coming after it, Queen.
Wild predictions, though.
We've all got a bit wild with this.
You're trying to capitalise on my potential success here, I think, Mr. Billington. We'll get to you in a second, though, because I feel like I need to outline my outlandishness first, and then we can see where you're trying to squeeze into this. I think it would be excellent, and therefore will happen, if Haas, Alpine, Minardi, Stick, and Williams are all in the points this weekend. Doesn't mean both cars. I mean, that would be pretty awesome if all five teams got both cars in the point, because it means what the hell is happening to the rest of them. But why not? It'd be spicy. Saudi Arabia is the place to do it. And you're kind of backing me up a little bit with one of these teams. If I get this to happen, you get this to happen.
Yeah, this is true. Or certainly I need yours to happen to get at least half of mine to happen. Double stake points. I've got a sneaking suspicion it might go well here. It seems like they might just sort of have a car that's quite circuit dependent, and for some reason, hyper high speed street circuits are going to be its thing this year. So double stake points here and double stake points in Las Vegas would be sort of the thing I'm anticipating here.
That's the only two tracks they'll get points on this year.
Yeah. Maybe Monza, because that's also quite high speed, and Spa. Like, that's it. It's like the 4 circuits where they'll both get points. There might be other opportunities where sort of Joe or Bottas weans it into a P10, but that's what I'm seeing.
They're going to be...
Ellie May, you've been much more specific.
Apparently it wasn't specific enough for somebody, but both Aston Martin drivers finished ahead of both Mercedes drivers in the race.
I feel like you didn't even need to say both there. It was implied in the sentence as when I read it, or any other human being would read that, to be honest. But maybe that's just us, Ellie May. Maybe we're on a different plane.
If I'm making sure that you get your points, how is that a bad thing? Like, if it happens, I want to be able to
because she understood it and I understood it.
I want to officially...
We'd argue about it in the review.
Points. Yeah, that way it stops any arguments happening. It means that you get your points and there's no quibbling. It's making sure the play is fair and well understood. I'm not trying to take your points away. I'm trying to ensure you get them.
Rebuttal, Ellie May?
So in trying to resolve a squabble that might happen later down the line, there's been a squabble here instead.
Yes. Translocational squabbling. That seems to be the solution.
On that note, that is all we've got time for this week's episode. And we'll be back to review the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and hopefully, it's more exciting than Bahrain on track. Please, nothing else happen off track. There's too much as it is. In the meantime, though, if you want any more from any of us, Jesse, where can you be found?
I can be found on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter as @JesseOnCars. And I can also be found writing for Classic Car Weekly. Our latest edition should be on shop shelves when this drops online, so you can pick it up. And we got in touch with the California Design Institute and got some people to redesign British classic cars. So which is quite out there for a very small British classic car newspaper to do, but it's worth picking up and reading because it's quite interesting.
Ellie May, you've got a little project you've been cooking up in the works, which means you've actually got something slightly motorsport related to say when I ask, where can the people find you?
so I'm not allowed to say installing a glitter ball then.
No.
You can find me on, well, it'll be on exactly Friday the 8th of March, posting a little, the first instalment of our Women in Motorsport series, where I'll be looking at women, obviously, in motorsport in different sectors of the industry and sort of highlighting all their good work.
Which we're very much looking forward to seeing and reading and promoting the living daylights out of, I'm sure. In the meantime, if you want to find more from me, you can find me over on the Kerbs, Is It Fast, Paddock Sorority, and the Nitro RX podcast. He says thinking about everything he does and making sure he doesn't forget anything. There's always new stuff there each and every week, so do go and check that out. And as for Undercut podcast stuff, make sure you have liked, subscribed, and got notifications turned on so you do not miss everything that we are posting, which includes our F1 Academy season preview, which should already be out by the time you listen to this. He says double checking that in his mind and looking at Jesse for a nod of confirmation or a shake of the head to say no.
Yeah, I'll probably edit them both tonight before I go to the office tomorrow, so they'll probably both release tomorrow, or
it should be out
release
now
the day after.
When you're listening to this, or very, very soon. It'll be out before the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Yes.
So let's go with that.
That is a fact that will be made true, possibly on the 7th of March.
And on that note, thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back soon with the review of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.